We've got a log here from Yamaford. Apparently I gave some advice that was helpful. So, yay, good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm very glad to hear that your copter's flying a little bit better. Your questions are, how did the log look to me? And what do you do with the yaw? Uh, Without being more specific, I'm not sure what you might be talking about, but we'll take a look and see what we can come up with. Um, You've also pointed out, and I think this is a great feature that other people may not know exists, that Blackbox now logs the in-flight adjustments, and I didn't know that it actually showed the exact values. So folks, if you're trying to do tuning and you have got in-flight adjustments set up with Blackbox, it just could not get any easier to find which values are producing good results and bad results. You can see here the numbers are right there, exactly what the pitch I is or whatever else it is you're tuning. So thanks to Nick for that. Let's take a look at your log. And as usual, the first thing I like to do is just look at your gyros. I know this is the second time I've looked at your copter. I frankly I didn't look back to see what I said the first time or what it looked like, so I'll kind of just be coming in fresh. And I would say that again, I'm looking at the gyro and I'm looking at the thickness of the line, which is indicative of the amount of vibration or noise, and that tells us whether the amount of filtering is correct or not. And I would say that this line looks a little bit thick to me, and I hope that anybody who is uh, trying to learn a little bit is maybe watching more videos than just this one, because this you'll get a perspective on what looks like a thick line and a thin line. And don't take my word for it. Look at logs that have been posted by a bunch of other people. That's one of the reasons I wanted to start this thread, not just for myself, but for everyone, to sort of build this database of information about how different people's copters look. And to me, this one looks a little bit noisy. My hunch is that it's not so noisy that it would be causing flight issues, but if you were to lower, you might stand to lower your gyro filter a tiny bit, is what I would say if I was looking at this just in a vacuum. So then the other thing I'm going to do is, you said that you raised your P term, so let's go ahead and take a look at your pitch and your roll and see what you've got going on. And we can see we've got some bumps here. If we look at here's a you sort of nudge the stick. Let's play it forward at regular speed. You'll see what it looks like. Just a stick nudge. And here's another one. There's another one a little stronger. You can see that we've got a strong push into the move. The P term, that's the red line, pushes strong into the move, and then opposes it as you achieve the desired angular rate. And that is sort of the normal starting of a strong move, in my opinion. One push in the direction of the move, one push in the opposite direction, as the initial push is always a little too strong, right? And then we settle and we've got some ringing here. And that ringing, if we look at the gyro is this purple line here. We can see that ringing is present in the gyro. It's how present is it? I mean, especially because you say you're flying line of sight here, it's probably not noticeable. But if you were flying FPV and doing high def recording, you probably would want to get rid of that. It depends on how present it really is. But generally, I think two ringing oscillations after a sharp move is certainly getting good. It's not. If you had 3 or 4, it would take a lot longer to damp down. Then I would say, well, you probably want to keep tuning that. But this doesn't look. It probably is getting in the right range of where it wants to be. Same thing here. They look very consistent, and that's good as well. We do have kind of a noisy D term here. I think that probably more D term filtering is called for. I can't remember if you're running stock 1.9 or if you're running Betaflight or something with. If you're running stock 1.9, then there's just nothing you can do about that D term. Um, let's take a look also at your yaw. What am I going to do with this yaw, you asked? Well, I don't know. Let's see what's going on with your yaw. And I guess I don't know what you're asking. Um, and I've always said that yaw is very hard to tune without either having a specific problem in mind or without having something be just dramatically wrong, or without actually holding the sticks and feeling what the copter's doing and not doing what you want it to. Let's take a look at your video and see if any additional insight into that question is in your video. All right, so first of all, I apologize. When you said your video was line of sight, I assumed it was from a camera like mounted on your head or something. I didn't realize that you were flying line of sight, but you had the camera on the copter, so I apologize for that misunderstanding. I will say that when I first looked at your video, I thought, man, this guy is really brave to be doing all these flips and rolls FPV with all these trees and power lines and everything so close. That guy has some spatial awareness. But it turns out that you were flying line of sight, and that makes it, that makes it a little easier to have the spatial awareness that that's a little harder to get when you're flying FPV. Regarding your question about yaw, I think what you're asking about is this. Let's have a look at this move. And there's a little bit of bounce back at the end of that move. Let's have another look real quick. All right, so let's see if I can find that move in this recording, and I'm going to do that by bringing up RC command for yaw and zooming all the way out. And it's probably, is it that one? Is there anything else it could be? It was toward the end, actually, so yeah, that looks like it might be it. I don't know, how long is that move? Let's see. Yeah, that could be it. Let's have a look at that move. And we will, let me just put this the way I like it. Okay. So here, the stick goes left, the trace goes above the line, the gyro responds. There is a little bit of disconnect here between what the stick is doing and what the gyro is doing. Yeah, the stick pushes left here, and then the stick comes back in. Yeah. So, just making sure I've got the right traces up here. Yeah, so the gyro isn't necessarily completely following the stick. And I guess that has to do with the lack of authority on the gyro on yaw, on these flat copters. They just don't have as much authority on that axis to be able to speed up and slow down. And so the PID loop is doing its best to make the gyro sort of follow the RC command as best it can, but it can't completely succeed. But the part we're really interested in here is the end. You have this sharp stop, which is normal, and we have this overshoot and bounce back. So here, the gyro tries to achieve zero angular rate as fast as it can, or the PID loop tries to achieve zero angular rate as fast as it can, and doesn't succeed. It overshoots, and then here where the gyro goes below the axis, the copter is now moving back the other direction, and that's our bounce back. And then there is this slow, this is sort of a sharp bounce back, and then there is this slow drift back to the other direction, to the right. And the yaw stick, you can see, is completely centered during this whole move. So this entire set of motion here is completely uncommanded. Notice that the gyro, so let's say the gyro that's left, above the line is left. So the copter is rotating left, it's yawing left. It is slowing down now, but still yawing left because we're still above the line. Now it has stopped. Now it is bouncing back, quicker, 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 slower. Now it is slowly moving back to the right, slower, and now it has basically achieved zero angular rate and is standing still. So this is essentially the end of the move. So what happened there? Let's see if we can take a look at what's happening in your PID loop and figure out why this is happening. First thing we'll notice is that the D gain on your yaw axis is low enough that D term is basically not doing anything. See, D is basically zero this whole time. So let's just go ahead and take D out of here. Let's not confuse things. And let's put in the PID sum as well. Okay. So, and let's zoom in also a little bit. There we go. So first of all, notice that the P term during the move, the P term is struggling a bit to try to make the move happen. Now I would not call this P term oscillation, because P term oscillation it's usually going to be a very strong P move. This is not, this doesn't have the height off the axis to be a very strong move, and also it doesn't have a kind of regularity. So P-term oscillation is usually going to be at a certain frequency, and that frequency is going to be relatively consistent. Whereas this, we have, if we look at the length of the oscillations, we have a long one, a little shorter, I don't know, then some short ones. So the P-term is working here, but this doesn't seem indicative to me of excess P gain. And also, on the yaw axis, it's hard to judge because you'd have to have a lot of excess P gain to get oscillation on the yaw axis because yaw authority is so low. But this doesn't look like excess P term to me. So don't let the fact that the P term here is moving around the axis make you think that that is a problem. That's just the PID loop trying to correct for error and trying to achieve the desired angular rate. And it kind of succeeds at achieving a consistent angular rate. We can also see, hang on. I got the colors messed up the way I don't want them. That's all. There we go. We can also see that the I term is really dominating here. The PID sum is very much following the I term. And so as a little bit of effect, we can see some wobbles in the PID sum, and especially right here where we get this big dip for whatever reason, where the P term sort of takes over. But in a lot of cases, the I term seems to be dominant. Now, as the stick returns to center abruptly, both P and I drop. And frankly, I find it problematic that the I term drops so quickly. It makes the I term should slope off slowly. And it's also really weird to me. I don't even know what's going on here with your I term being jagged like this. I think what that is there's a mechanism where the I term gets zeroed out under certain conditions. And I have to think that that is what that is. The I term is accumulating, but then the PID loop is zeroing it out again. I'm not sure what the criteria are for zeroing out the I term, but the I term should just never look sawtooth like that under normal conditions. So let's just forget that for a minute. But here, the fact that, look at this steep slope on the I term. Let's put it back at 100% so we're not fooled. But still, the steep slope where it rapidly switches sign, that really feels to me like excess I gain. So I think maybe your yaw I could come down, and probably also your yaw P could come up. And those two things will complement each other. More P gain will result in a lower I term because there will be less error to a point. If you have too much P gain, there will be oscillation, and the I term will grow. But if it's sort of a three bears thing, not too much, not too little, just enough. And it feels like your P term is a little bit on the side of not enough, and needs a little bit more, and that will help keep